Last little quick hitter before we get into this little playoff picture we got going on. Who do you think's under more pressure? The Sixers or Denver? And I will say this. We'll preface it like this. This is the Sixers as they are, but this is Denver if Jokic wins his third straight MVP. So now you're going into like this whole like is he gonna live up to it kind of thing.
Um, JJ Redick talked about this with Richard Jefferson, and I thought it was so interesting because JJ said Philly and RJ said Denver, and I see why he chose Denver because Denver has all the tools to win this year. They have all the tools. They've arguably the best player in the league. I said arguably because again, it is arguable, right? They have the best player in the league. You have Jamal Murray, second fiddle, who is by far, when healthy, one of the best guards in the league. He's one of the best scorers in the league.
Oh man,
He
him and
the
Donovan
dude puts
Mitchell's
on
duels
50.
will live
Oh
on
my god, that's awesome.
for eternity, man.
Yeah. I mean that was awesome. Like Jamal Murray is a certified dog. We already know that. Um then you talk about the additions of KCP, right, who has
Mhm.
clearly been a huge contributor to this team this year. Forgive me if I'm missing people. Obviously, we're talking about MPJ, Aaron
Bruce
Gordon,
Brown.
Bruce Brown, who's been awesome for them too. So they have all the tools. They have scoring weapons. They have guys who can defend. They have the best player. They have a second fiddle. They've got really good coaching under Michael Malone. But after watching them, I was watching them for a good period. I was watching a few games after they played the Raptors, where the Raptors nearly beat them if it wasn't for the stupid call on Scotty, and then when
Oh
the
yeah.
Raptors came and blew them out the second game. And then watching them after that, the preceding games, I was like, man, there's something about this team that I don't like, and I can't put a finger on it. But they play a really good brand of basketball when they manage to control the momentum of the game. But they do really poorly with really long defenses. They do really poorly with really long defenses. And when they can't control the pace of the game, they have a really hard time getting into any action. Um, because when you're controlling the pace of the game, you can control the rhythm, the momentum of the game. When you have a guy like Jokic, you can go up and forth. Um, and so when it comes down to playoff basketball, we all know this. It's literally a much slower game. And so when you play a slower game, your half court offense and your ability to create something out of nothing is super important. And they lack a lot of ability to mismatch, other than Jokic, right? Because Jokic is the mismatch creator, right? He's a guy
Mm.
who can step out, bring up the ball, play in the high post, go into the low post, can be the screener, can be the roll man, could play the pick and roll himself with a smaller player, but they don't have a lot of secondary action that counters that stuff. I mean, like from the games that I've seen, like where they were struggling, and again, maybe a lot of this is what I'm basing off playing Toronto, and then the teams after that, because you look at a long team like Toronto where they're really good at scrambling, and Denver's really good at getting that ball to the next guy, but when they're not causing that mismatch in the first place, when they can double and they can blitz and they can switch, um, that's a problem because in the playoffs you're just going to see that 30 more times. So that's the long thing for me to say is the reason why I think Denver doesn't have as much pressure as Philly is because they just don't have the players that can um, when it comes to playoff basketball and you put all your money on the stars. Philly's got James Harden and Joel Embiid. You have those guys where you say, all right, take us to the promised land, right? And it's and that is what's supposed to take you to playoff success. So optically and on the court, really long-winded answer for me to say Philly has the most pressure because Joel Embiid is hunting the MVP. James Harden is coming close to father time, and Joel's time is also running out for him to win a chip. Like this is a really good window for them now because this is as wide open as it's ever been, and their team is as good as it's ever been. In fact, I would argue that this team is better than what they had in 2019 with Jimmy Butler, Ben
Yeah, you
Simmons,
think
JJ
it's
Redick,
better
and
than the
Tobias
Jimmy
Harris.
team?
I think so.
Ooh.
I honestly agree. I honestly think so because you have Tyrese Maxey, you have Tobias Harris, you have DeAnthony Melton, you have PJ Tucker. You have a lot of really good rotation guys, and I think they're a much deeper squad than they were in 2019. And for
Yeah, because
all
I'm not gonna lie, I can't even think who was coming off the bench for that Sixers team in 2019.
they had, oh my God, what was that dude's name?
I
Who did
feel
they
like
have?
Furkan Korkmaz was playing like hard rotation
Yeah,
minutes.
and they've also got Montrezl Harrell. Like this is a team
Mm.
that's really deep. So when you talk about the pieces in place, and you have to really think about coaching. Like Doc Rivers is a championship coach, and he's had a lot of pressure, like blowing leads and stuff like that in the playoffs. There's a lot of storyline for Philly, which is why I think they have the most pressure, and also in the basketball court because they are really good, man. Like Philadelphia, if it wasn't for some of the nagging injuries they've had throughout the year between their star players, I think this team could have been first seed. I really think they could have been the best team in the Eastern Conference. So with that being said, again, Denver has a lot of pressure because they have everything in place. Like they have the squad, they have the players, they have good coaching. There's just something about them where I go, okay, if I were if I were to ask you, DJ, on any given night, if I had the choice to take these players to war, if I had the choice between Jamal Murray and Nikola Jokic, James Harden, Joel Embiid, you'd tell me you wouldn't take Joel Embiid and James Harden over Jamal Murray and Nikola Jokic? If you had to build your roster out, you wouldn't take those two first?
Mm. No, I'm kidding. Yeah, I
Wow.
take Joel.
Wow.
I'm kidding. I
Okay.
take Joel. Yeah.
That's you take Joel and James Harden over
Mm.
Nikola Jokic and Jamal Murray. And that's really what it comes down to in the NBA playoffs, man. Like I know they talk all about like roster and all this stuff, and I'm kind of contradicting myself a little bit here, but when you talk about teams, you play a tight rotation in the playoffs, and it's about mismatch. Like you got sometimes guys just need to take over to win games. Giannis did it um, last year. Steph did it the year before that. LeBron did it, right? Kawhi did it. You could go as far back to Paul Pierce did it, and you could go as far back as to KD did it. Like Kyrie did it. The stars are what will take you over the hump. So, yeah, along with saying Philly's got the like significantly more pressure,
Mm.
in my opinion.
Yeah, I feel that. I think rather than me just kind of reiterating, let's look at it from this perspective. If they lose, what do you think happens? Because I mean, you got James Harden's potential extension. Now you got even more questions than there already are with Doc. There's a lot of things that I think could happen, and I'm not gonna lie. I'll say it here. If they don't win, I think blowing it up is a path you look at.
I was just about to say I
Mm.
agree with that. I definitely think they have to blow it. I think they have to. I think they have to because you can't run this team back, especially if they don't go deep. If they don't go at least the Eastern Conference Finals,
I think
and they lose
ECF, then
in
you
Game
run it back.
Seven,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah, and if they lose in Game 7 to Boston or Milwaukee, then I say, oh, you know what? This team was inches away. Let them run it back. Add another player or two,
I
or
think you
make some
low key though. I
changes.
think you fire Doc if you go. Because
I
okay, I
don't
actually,
think you do.
if it's okay, here's my thing though. If it's a
Okay.
close game seven, like wire to wire, then yeah. But if it's like Doc gets completely out coached, which I think
They
in the
get Phoenix
playoff
Suns
times,
by the they get Phoenix Suns by the Mavs.
yeah, if some shit like that happens, then man,
He's out. Yeah, he's
I
gone, bro.
love you, Doc, but holy.
He should go back to broadcasting if he were to lose that.
Mm.
Yeah, but yeah, I agree with that. I agree. I think they definitely should look at blowing it up or looking at because they haven't done a whole lot of roster reconstruction. I mean, they still try to just fill the gaps in with names. And I really think you look at and say Tyrese Maxey is the future of this franchise. While Joel is still fairly young, you gotta look and say, bro, like Tyrese Maxey is a stud.
Oh yeah, I
And
mean, when he had that leg injury to begin the year, I think that kind of killed a lot of the momentum that was on his name. Because I mean,
yeah,
I swear he was dropping like he was averaging like 25, 28 to begin the year. But yeah, I
yeah, mind
agree.
you, he's
He's
a
gonna
depth
be.
performer too. He
Oof.
cooked the Raptors last year. He cooked them. There's nobody on the team that can guard him. Like Tyrese Maxey is going to be a great player. So I think I definitely agree with you. Look at blowing it up.
Hmm. And then I think another thing is I think Tobias is heading in. Is this the last? I think this is the last year of his ungodly contract. Let me
You're
verify
talking
that
about
because I mean,
Tobias Harris, one of the great two-way players this game has ever
yeah,
seen.
man. Tobias Harris's career highlight is starring in a movie with Adam Sandler, man.
Oh my god.
And getting
You know,
cooked by
that guy's kind
Hernan
of
Gomez.
that guy's an anomaly too. Hey, like he would have been really really great, but there's something about him that reminds me so very much of like a Josh Smith.
Oh,
Like
yeah, I
so
see
much
that.
tantalizing potential,
Yeah.
really good but never great.
See, I think the thing is
Paid
this.
like a great guy.
Yeah. So
Tough.
just to add context, he's got one more year. So it's this year and next year. But, I think Tobias Harris isn't necessarily a terrible player, but I just
No,
think everything that gets put on his name with how much monetary value that he comes with, that's where you start to lose me. Because I'm not going to lie, I think he's the highest paid player on the team this year. And when you look at that
is
on
he
the
really?
team, I think so. I feel like I saw that in, oh, I don't want to say I saw it in 2K, but I'm pretty sure that's where I saw it. But I mean, even, yeah, oh my goodness. Yeah, he's getting paid 37 this year. Joel's next. Joel and James are
Um,
tied at pretty much at 33 apiece. But yeah,
the
when you look
cap
at that,
figure.
it's oof.
Well, if I'm looking at the 2023 cap holds right now. He's the second highest player. From what
Okay.
I understand, Joel's base salary is at 46, and Tobias is currently at 39. So he's actually
Mm.
second paid, but the fact that he's getting paid more than James Harden is hilarious. James Harden did take a pay cut though, but Tobias Harris getting paid 39 million is insane. It's absolutely insane.
Yeah,
I
and
think,
and Tobias is great. He's a great rotational player, but he's not 37, $39 million
brother, this
great.
guy's getting paid more than Pascal Siakam.
Oof. Oh my goodness.
If Pascal Siakam was on the Sixers, like that team's winning the championship.
Oh yeah, that team's cooking everybody. But